Okay, let's talk about something we're all feeling. The world of business is just constantly changing, right? So how does some companies just seem to roll with the punches and thrive while others get left behind? Well, it's not about being the biggest or the oldest. It's all about being adaptable. Today, we're going to break down how you can build what we're calling an organizational pivot muscle, the strength you need to navigate pretty much any storm.
And look, this isn't just some nice idea for a motivational poster. The Forbes Business Council really nails it here. Your ability to adapt, to change quickly, is a direct predictor of whether you'll be around in 5, 10, or 50 years. It's the secret sauce for longevity.
So, what's the real problem we're fighting against? In the kind of volatile world we live in now, the biggest risk isn't that you're too small. No, the real danger is being too rigid. It's this idea of strategic inertia that can absolutely cripple a company. And the cost of that rigidity, whoa, it is staggering. Check out this research from McKinsey. They found this massive value gap. Over a 20-year period, a company that's a dynamic reallocator, one that actively shifts its resources, can be worth more than double its drowsy, less agile competitor. I mean, that's the prize we're talking about for building this agility muscle. This brings us right to the solution, developing what we're calling the pivot muscle. Now, this is crucial. This is not a last-ditch panic button reaction to a crisis. It's a planned, practiced strength. It's the capability to make quick, proactive shifts based on good, timely data. So how do we build it? Well, it really comes down to 3 key pillars.
All right, first up, Pillar 1, sensing the shift. You can think of this as building your company's own internal early warning system.
You know the old way of doing things, right? You wait for the quarterly report to tell you what happened 3 months ago. The problem is, by then, you already missed the exit. The new agile way is all about creating real-time feedback loops with the people who are actually on the front lines, your sales teams, your customer service, your people on the factory floor. You have to learn to hear those weak whispers of change before they turn into a deafening market scream. So how do you actually do that? Well, it starts with culture. You have to build a culture that genuinely values curiosity and a growth mindset. You have to encourage people to experiment, where a failure is just a springboard for learning something new. And you've got to make sure communication is flowing freely across the entire organization, not just stuck in silos. This right here, this is the foundation of sensing what's coming next. Okay, on to pillar 2, and I'm going to tell you, this is the hard choice. Because sensing a shift is one thing, but actually acting on it, that requires something called resource liquidity. And the big enemy here is strategic inertia. It's this incredibly powerful, almost gravitational pull to just keep funding the same things in the same ways year after year. Why? Well, because that's just how we've always done it. This one tendency is probably the single biggest barrier to acting on new information.
You want to know how real that inertia is? Get this. According to McKinsey, for most companies, the correlation between a business unit's budget this year and its budget from last year is over 90%. Let that sink in for a second. The market is changing like crazy, but the money just keeps flowing to the exact same places.
And this is exactly where dynamic leadership becomes so critical. As McKinsey puts it, the best teams have the guts to rob Peter to pay Paul. They aren't afraid to pull resources from a division that's stable, but maybe not growing, and reinvest them into a brand new high-growth opportunity. Yeah, it's disruptive, but it's exactly what separates the best from the rest. The principle here is actually pretty simple. If you want to be flexible, you need liquid resources. That's cash, talent, and time. And the only way to get those is to cut your liabilities. You have to be willing to strategically abandon the things that just aren't working anymore, even if they're those sacred cows that everyone loves. If a project takes more effort to keep alive than the value it provides, it's a liability. Full stop. And that brings us to our final pillar, creating courage. Because here's the thing, pivots are executed by people, not by processes. And to make that happen, you have to decentralize your decision-making. Just picture the 2 models. The old one is like a giant, slow-moving ship. Every single decision has to go all the way up the chain of command and then all the way back down. It takes forever. The new, agile model, it's more like a fleet of speedboats. You empower small teams, the ones who are closest to your customers, to run their own constant, low-cost experiments and make decisions on the fly. So, How do you build this? You need a very specific type of culture, one where people feel safe enough to raise their hand and say, hey, this thing we're doing, it isn't working, without any fear of blame. It's a place where you actively reward people for taking initiative and embracing change, where you provide a safety net so teams know it's okay to fail on a small scale, and most importantly, where those teams are actually empowered with the authority to make decisions. So what's the big takeaway here? Building this pivot muscle isn't a one-and-done project. It's a constant, ongoing process of renewal. It's a loop. You sense, you decide, and you act, over and over and over again. And that leaves us with one final, and maybe a little provocative, question to think about. Because to truly build this muscle, you have to be willing to make those tough calls. So, what is one sacred cow, a product, a process, a tradition, in your business that you'd be willing to challenge, starting today? Seriously, answering that question is the first real step.